Welcome to another deep dive, everyone. Today we are tackling Charles Dickens's classic, A Tale of Two Cities.
Oh, fantastic choice.
And we've got excerpts from the text, and I think we even have a thesaurus to help us along the way. So we'll be exploring, pre-revolutionary France, the lives intertwined within it. So get ready for a journey through, love, revolution,
I love it.
and some really fascinating characters.
Yeah, Dickens really sets the stage, doesn't he? It's 1775, and even the mere suspicion of revolution was like met with accusations of, immorality and atheism.
Right.
So it's this picture of a society that's teetering on the edge, but just choosing to be blind.
Oh, totally. Yeah, and like even that image, like the woodman, marking trees for the guillotine and the farmer selecting carts to become tumbrils, it's chilling right from the start.
Absolutely. It's like foreshadowing, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't miss it.
Yeah, totally.
How can these characters like be so oblivious, so caught up in their own little worlds? It's fascinating.
And speaking of little worlds,
Yeah.
we have that message recalled to life
Oh, yes.
that Mr. Lorry delivers to Jerry. It's so mysterious.
It's such a hook, right? Pulls you right in. And then there's all this danger
Yeah.
and suspicion surrounding travel at that time. It's like just talking about it could get you in trouble.
Right, totally.
Even Jerry, who's usually like so stoic,
Yeah.
he's taken aback by the whole blazing strange answer, you know?
It is strange.
Yes.
And then we jump from that world into London and Paris, two totally different
God.
places.
Oh, total contrast. You've got like Tellson's Bank, bustling but impersonal. And then you've got Saint Antoine, like teeming with life, but steeped in like this desperation,
It's like Dickens is playing with us, like showing us these two sides of the same coin.
Totally. And like even
yeah.
something as simple as that scene with the spilled wine.
Oh, yeah.
It's so symbolic, right? Like on the surface, it's just,
People trying to get what they can.
yeah, exactly. But it speaks volumes about the conditions, And that wine, it's like foreshadowing the blood that's going to be spilled.
Oh, for sure.
Like revolution isn't just some abstract thing. It's born out of real suffering.
Absolutely.
And then, we meet Dr. Manette.
Oh, yeah. What a character.
It's a man who's been in prison for 18 years.
18 years? It's almost unfathomable.
It's like his whole life was stolen.
Yeah.
And that reunion with Lucie, it's so moving, but also you see the effects of captivity on him,
Yeah, like the vacant stare.
Yeah, and that obsession with shoemaking.
And his body, like Dickens describes it as parchment yellow.
It's like his very being has been like drained.
You have to wonder, can you really come back to life after all that?
Right. Can you really be recalled to life?
And then we've got Charles Darnay and Sydney Carton.
Oh yeah. The two men vying for Lucie's love.
It's like Dickens is throwing another log on the fire.
Definitely. You've got Darnay, he's honorable, successful.
Right.
Carton's brilliant, but so self-destructive.
And he's so in love with Lucie. It's heartbreaking.
It is. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion.
And then you've got the revolution starting to really heat up.
Oh yeah, things are getting real.
The storming of the Bastille, the murder of the Marquis.
It's like the whole world is turning upside down.
And then there's Madame Defarge.
Oh, Madame Defarge. Now there's a character.
She's something else, isn't she?
She's a force of nature, like fueled by this vendetta.
It's almost scary how determined she is.
And that knitting, it's so chilling.
It's like she's knitting the fate of her enemies.
Yeah, and we get that image of her like counting the heads she knits.
It's intense.
It is. And then in the middle of all this, you have the Manette household.
Yeah, trying to hold on to some sense of normalcy.
It's like a little island of peace in this sea of chaos.
But how long can that last, right? Especially with Darnay being, a nobleman.
Oh yeah, that's a huge target on his back.
And Carton lurking in the background.
His love for Lucie is so powerful, but so destructive.
It's a recipe for disaster.
It really is. And as the revolution hits its peak, Darnay is accused of treason.
Oh, wow.
It's a total setup, but the trial is just like nail-biting suspense.
And then we get that shocking revelation.
A letter from the Bastille.
It's like the past is coming back to haunt everyone.
Yeah, and it seals Darnay's fate.
And that's when Carton steps forward.
With that crazy plan.
To sacrifice himself.
What a moment, right?
I mean, it's heroic, but also tragic.
It is. It really is.
And it makes you think, what were his motives? Was it love for Lucie?
Or was it just a desire to, like, finally do something good?
Maybe it was both.
It's a question that's haunted readers for, like, Centuries.
Yeah, but one thing's for sure, Carton's decision changes everything.
Absolutely. It sets in motion this chain of events that lead to an ending that's both heartbreaking and, like, strangely hopeful.
It's classic Dickens.
It really is.
It's incredible, like, how Dickens manages to blend those personal stories with, like, the whole sweep of the French Revolution.
Oh, absolutely. It's that weaving together, the love, the sacrifice, the violence, it all makes A Tale of Two Cities such a powerful story, even all these years later.
It's true, and you gotta admit, his use of language is, like, next level.
Oh, for sure. He paints such vivid pictures with his words.
Right, like, remember the description of the Dover Road that night when Mr. Laurie first meets Jerry?
Oh, yeah, yeah, with the mud and the mail coach and the passengers all bundled up.
Yeah, it's like you can feel the chill, the darkness, like something's coming.
Totally. And then there's Tellson's Bank.
Oh, yeah, tells us.
Dickens describes it as this cramped, dusty place,
Yeah.
almost like a tomb,
Right, and the clerks, he compares them to cheese.
kept in a dark place until they have the full Tellson flavor and blue mold upon them, he says.
It's funny, but also kind of creepy.
That's Dickens. He sneaks in these critiques even while making you laugh.
Yeah, like he's saying these institutions can really trap you, even if you don't realize it.
That totally, like, true freedom isn't just about breaking physical chains. It's about, like, breaking free from all those expectations and structures that hold you back.
I see what you're saying.
And that idea of imprisonment, it pops up everywhere in the book.
Yeah. I mean, obviously with Dr. Manette, but it's like,
But it's also in those characters who are, like, trapped by their pasts, their circumstances.
or even their own bad choices.
Exactly. And Dickens makes you think about, like, what are the prisons we build for ourselves? What are the things that hold us back?
That's deep, man.
Well, Dickens was a deep guy.
True. So,
Yeah.
speaking of characters trapped by their pasts, what about Madame Defarge?
Oh, she's a fascinating one.
She's powerful, but so full of rage, it's like consuming her.
Yeah, and that knitting of hers, it's not just a hobby.
No, it's like it's her weapon.
Exactly. She's keeping track of her enemies, marking them for what's coming.
It's chilling the way Dickens describes her counting dropping heads with each click of those needles.
It's like she's weaving a tapestry of revenge.
You think she represents like the dangers of revolution gone too far?
That's a good question, and I think Dickens wants us to ask that, because the revolution starts with these noble ideas, right? But then
It gets messy.
it gets bloody, and it consumes everyone, the innocent and the guilty.
It makes you think, can any revolution really escape that cycle of violence?
That's the big question, right? And it's like the revolutionaries, they want to break free from oppression.
But they end up creating a new kind of oppression.
It's that cycle repeating itself over and over.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you have characters like Dr. Manette and Sydney Carton.
We're also trying to break free in their own ways.
Right, like they're both haunted by their pasts.
Dr. Manette especially, his struggle with the trauma of that imprisonment, it's so real, so painful.
It's like he can't escape it, even when he's free.
In Carton, he's lost, for a long time, he's just drowning his sorrows.
But his love for Lucie, it's like it sparks something in him.
It does, like a flicker of hope.
A desire for something better.
And that leads him to that incredible sacrifice, giving his life to save Darnay.
It's a huge moment, right? Like it's heroic, selfless, but so sad.
It is, and it makes you think, was it just love for Lucie? Or was it something more?
Like a need to redeem himself.
Maybe both, maybe neither. It's
Right.
it's complex, and that's what makes it so powerful.
It's true. Dickens really knew how to write characters that stay with you. It's like, as we're talking about Carton and all this imprisonment stuff, I keep thinking about all the foreshadowing Dickens does.
Oh yeah, he's a master of that, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like he drops these little hints, and you don't even realize it at first.
Right, like that spilled wine in Saint Antoine, we talked
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
It seems so random, but then you realize it's like a premonition of the blood that's coming.
It's true. And then there are those footsteps Lucie hears in her house in London.
Oh yeah, those creepy footsteps.
At first, it's just like background noise, but as things get more intense, it's like they take on this whole new meaning.
It's like something bad is gonna happen.
Exactly. And then you've got those doubles, those mirrored lives.
Oh yeah, Darnay and Carton, they look so much alike.
But their lives are so different. It's like Dickens is saying, look, you have choices.
Your life isn't set in stone.
Right, you can choose a different path, even if it's hard.
That whole choice versus fate thing, it's a big part of the story.
It is, like Dr. Manette. He was imprisoned for so long, but then he has to choose how he's going to live once he's free.
Will he let the past destroy him, or will he fight for a future?
And Madame Defarge, she's so trapped by her need for revenge, it's like she can't see anything else.
It's like she becomes a prisoner of her own hatred.
And it destroys her in the end.
Yeah. It's like Dickens is saying, revenge isn't the answer.
It just creates more pain, more suffering.
It's a message that I think is really important, even today.
Oh, absolutely. We see it all the time, right? People, countries, caught in these cycles of violence, and they can't break free.
It's like they're stuck in the past.
And Dickens is saying, to really be free, you have to change on the inside, you know?
You have to let go of that anger, that need for revenge.
It's hard, but it's the only way to break the cycle.
And I think that's where Carton's sacrifice comes in.
It's more than just love for Lucy, right?
Yeah, it's like he's choosing to break free from his own past, his own self-destructive patterns.
He's choosing a better path, even if it costs him everything.
And his final words, "It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done."
They're so powerful, so full of, like, acceptance and peace.
It's like he's finally found freedom, even in death.
And it's a reminder, I think, that even in the darkest times, we have the power to choose something better.
To make a difference, to leave behind a legacy of hope.
Exactly, and A Tale of Two Cities. It shows us both the darkness and the light that exists in humanity.
It makes you think, it makes you feel, it stays with you long after you've finished reading it.
It does, and we hope this deep dive has given you, like, a new perspective on the story, a new appreciation for Dickens' genius.
And maybe, just maybe, it's inspired you to think about your own choices, your own capacity for love and forgiveness.
Because even in a world that sometimes feels like it's falling apart, there's always hope.
There's always the chance to make things better, to choose a far, far better path.
Well said. And thanks to everyone for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a pleasure exploring A Tale of Two Cities with you.
Until next time.